Hey everybody, it is Hannah here with another video about League of Super Shitposters Pokemon Draft League. So for those of you who are not familiar, in American sportscasters, there is this guy named Colin Cowherd, and one of the things that he does is what he calls three-word game, where he uses three words to summarize every team in a league and then sort of use those three words as a launching point for his deeper thoughts about that particular team. So I thought with us approaching roughly the midway point of the season, I would give my take at that on basically what does each team need to do to make it to the playoffs and make a deep run in the playoffs and potentially win the league championship this year or this season. So I'm just going to run this down. Go conference one by standings, then conference two by standings, and just give my quick takes on all the different teams. So currently leading conference one, you have Swell Thunder. For Swell Thunder, I have win what's expected. Um, Basically, there are currently four teams in the league at 4-2, and four teams in the league at 2-4. The Swell Thunder have already played two of the 4-2 teams, and in week four they are going to be playing the last 4-2 team that they're going to see um, all season in the Pandas. After that, they have Moonlight Magearna, Babylonian Beedrill, and Lilikove Ludicolo. All teams that right now, if you were to just snap ask, who do you think would be the favored team in that matchup? You would most likely get the answer of Swell Thunder for all three of those matchups. So all we really need to see Swell Thunder do is take care of their business, beat the teams that they probably should beat, and that probably puts them in a strong position to have the number one seed out of Conference 1 and, like, potentially to give them momentum going into playoffs. So, Swell Thunder win what's expected. Second in Conference 2, we have the Dimsdale Dittos. For them, I have don't reinvent wheels. Um, Basically, we haven't really seen the Dittos be tested to this point. At least not super heavily tested in many games. And one of the two games that they did end up losing was one where it seemed like they were trying to get a little too clever and a little too cutesy for their own good and try and prove that they could run all four of their different weathers all together on one team. And so I think really the Dimsdale Dittos, all they really need to do to be successful is to just let their good Pokemon and their priority Pokemon do the things that you want a good and priority Pokemon to do. Sometimes winning games can just be as simple as put Swampert in rain. Sometimes it is just as easy as put Stoutland in the sand and just let them do what they want to do. Obviously, you can't, bring the same things and the same tricks week after week, but sometimes it is just good to let the simple things be simple. So, Dimsdale Dittos don't reinvent wheels. Next up, I have Tamawaway and Twash Pandas. For them, I have use Psychics better. Um, so the Twash Pandas took three Tier 1A Pokemon in Mega Venusaur, Mega Medicham, and Mew. They are currently 4-2 with 3 wins using Venusaur and only 1 win using Mew and Medicham in conjunction. So I think really what we need to see out of the Pandas going forward is find ways to make positive difference makers out of Mew and Medicham. Let them either, shake up configurations, bring some different unique sets, and if they continue to struggle playing around those two, potentially cut one or cut both to try and find threats that they are able to more consistently and more functionally play around and get sort of better results out of. So, Tamawawe and Twash Pandas use Psychics better. Finally, last team in Conference 1 is the Moonlight Magearna. And for them, I have Princess must win. The Magearnas are 2-4. Both of their wins were games that Roxa just came out and played guns blazing. Roxa is one of many, many coaches in the league who is individually 2-1. But having a lot of wins out of just one coach is not going to get you into the playoffs. I really think that even if there had been a hypothetical team who had one coach go 7-0 and the other coach go 0-7, that probably is not good enough to make a playoff mark. And Princess has been close and competitive in most of her games. She just has to find that last little margin here, that scrap there, that is the difference maker between a close loss and a close win, and she has to just find her way across that line. So for Moonlight Magearna, Princess must win. Moving over to Conference 2, have the last 4-2 team, which is Waifu Material. I have Keep on Truckin'. The Waifu Material have played 2 of the other 3 4-2 teams. They split both there, and they're one in, and both of those have been against teams in Conference 1, while their one matchup against a team in Conference 2 was a pretty lopsided 2-0 victory in their favor. So they have lots of 2-4 teams in front of them. They have mostly their own conference left to beat. And it is currently, with their 2-game and 12 Pokemon differential, the number 1 spot in Conference 2 is absolutely their slot to lose. So all they really have to do is just find a way to not lose what they already have a hold of. So Waifu Material really just need to keep on trucking. Next team is Babylonian Beedrill. So Hats is currently sitting alone with no new partner. And one thing that has been a sort of consistent theme in Hatsworth's battles is his major wins have come in games where a really spicy tech has picked up a like backbreaker KO, like Mega Camerupt knocking out, or no, Mega Camerupt forcing out Mew and knocking out Metacham, against um, against Denny, um, and typically he hasn't really gotten much accomplished in games where those wild techs don't go off. But he does have the advantage of when his new partner comes in, getting some extra free agent options. I would really like to see Hats potentially um, move off a couple of his sort of smaller things and like maybe cobble together two 120s to grab a second 190 and then a 30 Pokemon. Or, potentially make some moves like that. Shake it up just to give him some more straight up firepower options. That's definitely one thing that I feel like probably would help the Beedrill to get more consistent wins. Um, because you can't always 2 million IQ your opponent. Sometimes you just need a big Haas Pokemon to come in and do big Haas Pokemon things. And so I feel like that's probably something that the Beedrill might need to address. Um, so find new threats are my three words for Babylonian Beedrill. Next up, have Lilycove Ludicolo. I have keep this form. Um, the first 2 weeks of the season were pretty rough for Emblem and Lily. Like, really, really rough. They went down 0 wins, 4 losses before running it back with a 2-0 in week 3. And I feel like part of that is the two of them played substantially better in their week 3 games. And so something that is going to be important for them is continuing to play on the level that they presented in week 3 rather than sort of falling back into the sort of style that struggled against the Dittos and the waifu material early in the season. Um, they have a pretty reasonable schedule down the stretch between. They still have the Pandas and Swell Thunder, but they also still have, believe, Magirnas and the or no, they still have the Beedrills and the Electrikes. Um, and so they just need to play at the higher level that they showed coming out of week 3. And obviously, these are two coaches who have shown that they have what it takes to be successful in this league. Emblem is obviously a 2-time champion in loss, so they just need to keep performing at this higher level that they have shown in week 3. And last but far from least, we have E-City Electrikes, and I have focus on value for them. A big thing that seemed to stand out, particularly in the Electrikes Week 3 battles, was there were a few times where they made some switches and some sacrifices that generated little to nothing to move them towards winning the game, and in one case, probably actively hindered them towards a loss. Um, and so I think just going back and reviewing the replay footage and sort of looking for little places where, you know, sometimes you do have to sacrifice Pokemon, but getting something positive out of the sacrifices that you have to make rather than just sort of letting Pokemon go down for free is just something that they are going to definitely need to do if they want to make a playoff push. I fully believe that like they have every chance. They have a pretty reasonable schedule to like make their way through. They have a 2-0 win over the Beedrill and the Ludicolo still left to play. And so obviously that's a matchup that they probably need to circle and have a very high emphasis on coming out with another 2-0 win. Um, so yeah, that's just um, so yeah, focus on value for eCity Electrics, and that is just my sort of quick takes on what needs to happen for everybody to potentially have a deep playoff shot. So hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of this sort of shorter form, just quick take on the league format. Um, if this goes over well, I might see about trying to find some other sort of quicker things that I can do, just sort of on the side. Um, so yeah,